Yeah, I guess you can.
Sorry.
Oh wait, I need to click something here. Yeah, got it. Cool.
Awesome. So yeah, welcome back to everyone to the Horn Throwers podcast. And
Like,
especially welcome to 16, who's joining us from the black metal band Trespasser. We
thank
are
you.
really excited to have you on the show. Like ever since Sean from Red Nebula sent kind of the stuff along, and we were like, well, we thought we were super impressed with it with the first stuff, and then the new album dropped, etc., and that was even better. And
Yeah,
yo,
I've had it on repeat for well, it's Friday because I really, really, really like Behemoth, but Nurgle's a bit of an egotist and annoys me sometimes. So I
yeah,
was like,
definitely.
it's like Behemoth without the ego, and yeah,
Well, I was chatting to a friend of mine about Trespasser, trying to sum you up. Like, I was like, it's like a non-cringe Behemoth. And then since the album, she was like, "Yeah, Behemoth never put out anything this good."
yeah,
That's quite a compliment.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like, yeah, kind of the first thing that we were sent was the EP that had like the carriages with the machine guns on, which I think from like the Ukrainian Revolution.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and that was like I felt like I know that you said that it wasn't like an intentional thing, but I felt it had a real dissection kind of flavor to it, especially with like the melodies on it. And like obviously changed your sound dramatically with the new release, like sounding more like Black and Death, like Behemoth. Was that like a conscious decision that you made?
Well, I didn't want to make the same record twice, of course. I like to develop both like songwriting and production and everything. Uh, I was actually not quite sure what I wanted to do, so I just started to write riffs, and uh, I took the ones that I thought was the best. And like now in retrospect, I think the new record is more. I mean, it has less of these dissection kind melodies, of course, but I still wanted to include some of that. So conscious, yes, uh, of course. I don't uh, want to do the exact same thing twice. No.
Yeah, of course. Like it'd just be boring to kind of repeat yourself, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, lots of people have taken up the dissection influences, both on this record, but also like the record before, of course, it's even more influenced. And it's been a band that I've been listening to for a long, long time. So I guess it's hard to not be influenced by it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like absolutely very, very much like prominent on the previous release. Not so much on the new one, as I said, but it's definitely like the new album has definitely gone from strength to strength. Like I just the production quality as well is just like
Yeah, I
incredible.
was in the press release when it said you recorded it in 10 days. I was like, how did you manage to record that in 10 days and it sound this like
Slick.
big?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
slick is the right word I'd use.
yeah, yeah. It's very impressive.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I rehearsed quite a bit for it, of course. And I mean, I've written all the songs myself, and I play all the instruments myself. So when I finally got to the studio, I knew what to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I don't think it's 10 days. Is I think it's pretty long. I mean, it's 1.5 weeks
I
of
mean,
just recording, 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 and I mean, I went to Studio Fredman. It's like an institution in Sweden. I guess you heard a bunch of albums recorded there, from Slaughter of the Soul to the early In Flames stuff, and I mean, always wanted to record there since I was a little kid. So this is like a kind of a boyhood dream come true, and just a project that I needed to do. I needed to record something there before I die.
Yeah.
Uh, so now when I done it, it feels good. But I mean, the recording process was mm, pretty stressed, or like hectic at least. But he's very professional, and I mean everything is very fast. Like when you show up there, you just like mic all the drums, do all the drums in 2 days, and then up with the guitars, do everything in like 2 takes or whatever, you know. So yeah, I mean, I had a really good record engineer. So
I mean, like, I know that you're saying that you thought that it wasn't a particularly short period of time, but I mean, you do hear about usually bigger bands, admittedly, but like
Yeah.
that spend months in the studio, you know, working on an album that, you know, maybe doesn't sound anywhere near as polished as this. Like, it is very impressive just from like an outside perspective.
So we usually ask what's obviously you say you play all the instruments. We sort of ask like what was your first forays into music, like playing music. With black metal specifically, what was your first forays into black metal? I suppose that's
my first. Sorry, I didn't catch that. My first what?
Oh, your first sort of
Exposure to black
exposure to
metal.
black metal, and also sort of your
Oh,
first,
yeah, I guess it
yeah.
was like Dissection, and through my my sister and my brother-in-law when I was 14, 15, and started listening to Dissection and Marduk and Immortal and these Swedish and Norwegian bands from the 90s. Yeah, it was like that. And I mean, the sound really spoke to me. I mean, I've just listened to mostly punk and stuff, and most of the death metal I've been exposed to was a bit too, I don't know, technical or polished, or I mean, it didn't speak to me in the same way as black metal did when I discovered it.
I mean, that's kind of the thing that, like, you know, just in general in documentaries, etc. I know that like a lot of the people from that Norwegian second wave scene, they were saying it was almost like a rebellion against that Florida death metal sound.
Yeah, yeah.
So well produced, so technical, that they wanted to do something more primal that kind of just hits you like emotionally.
Yeah, I can agree with that on a lot of points actually. But also like the total rebellion, like the necro sound, like Burzum and stuff like this. I was never interested in that, but like the more. I think it's really hard to describe what the essence of black metal is and why you get hooked on it, because I mean I think like Immortal and Marduk always had like a pretty solid sound, at least like Immortal's Pure Holocaust, and then the mid-era Marduk albums also like they have like this really fat sound, which is like well produced in a way, but then also the use of these echoes and reverbs and stuff, which I think the death metal of the time didn't quite have because they wanted it to be very tight. Like if you listen to it, the Swedish death metal, like Entombed and stuff, they have this like really sound. It's just like hitting a wall. It has no epicness, no room, no
Yeah,
like fullness, you know. And that's what I think spoke to me in the black metal.
Get lost in black metal as well.
It's-
more so than death metal. It's more like
the reverb's like a very
Yeah.
big part of that, and I've maybe not thought that much about it, but it definitely gives that not just like epicness, but like it gives it a much more emotional quality, and especially when you're doing
Yeah,
almost like hypnotic riffs, like you were saying,
Yeah.
getting lost in it. That is very much a part of it, and you can have well produced black metal that doesn't rely on necro production, but there's still something there, and it isn't just that lo-fi sound, but there is definitely like a spirit or a vibe there that it's very hard to kind of put your finger on it.
yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I don't want to copy anything like with Trespasser. I'm not looking to sound like another band in a certain era or whatever. And that's I have a little bit of a hard time with it being labeled black metal as well, because I don't see it as black metal, because I don't sing about Satan. And I mean, I'm not a Satanist at all. I'm not nihilist, not misanthropic, or you know whatever. And for me, that has always been a big part of the black metal scene. That their ideals of this misanthropy and Satanism is very close to their songwriting and their stage expression and their aesthetics, and that's what gives black metal its power. But I I don't think Trespasser is that, you know.
Specifically, like your lyrical content on the new album as well, being so much about like hope and kind of it's very interesting. So you're using a lot of the same visual metaphors as like Dawn Radar and their new album that's coming out this year about like light and things like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I
that's
saw that actually. It's like it was really strange that we both had like titles with light and into the light and like this, and I don't know how it came to be like that, but yeah.
Definitely necessary.
I think so.
Because the thing is, if we get so wrapped up in kind of because the world right now is in a very hopeless state, but if we just devolve into hopelessness,
Yeah.
we'll get done.
I think it's after the past few years, pandemic and all this, it's very hard to then go out and make something even more hopeless because people don't need that. And I think
Absolutely
especially
not.
from like a left wing perspective, having a sense of hope is a lot better considering the state of
Yeah.
the movement.
Yeah, I mean, you need that, and it's really hard to find. So I mean, it's I don't know how to say it in English, but I mean, I really had to like birth this record. It was like a really hard emotional process to get these lyrics out of me, because in a way I didn't feel them in my bones, but I knew I needed the message, both for myself and for my friends and family, and yeah, for all comrades out there, so it was more that I saw something that needed to be done, but it wasn't necessarily how I feel or how I felt at the point. But sometimes you just need to like fake it till you make it, and yeah, just try to convince yourself that there's actually hope and there's a way forward, and that's why I wanted to put it in like this tradition of rebellion and insurrection, like that, going back to like Jesus and whatever. I mean, the record is nothing. It's not about Christianity or Jesus or Christian anarchism. It's just like I use that aesthetic to get the same anarchist message out there that was on the first record, and like what I've been doing with my punk bands before and stuff like this. So, but I think that's another thing, like the connection with Dawn Raid, because I talked to, fuck, I can't remember his name, the lyricist,
Simon?
is his name Simon? Yeah, exactly.
On the
Yeah, and
podcast.
he was also like struggling with lyrics, and he was saying like, yeah, it's so hard to write. Uh, I mean, you have these ideals and you write about them over and over and over again, and just to find something new to like hook both your audience and, I mean, make people pep and make people want to organize and get into the struggle and do something. It's hard to find a new language and a new phrasings of the same old problems.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
just to get a new angle on the struggle, like for social justice or whatever you want to fight for.
with my conversation with Simon, he said that a lot of the lyrical concepts and trying to find hope in the situation comes from reading a lot of anarcho-nihilist literature, like Desert by Anonymous and things like that, which I went and read after the podcast after he recommended it. And it's that kind of idea that I'm trying to just think of the right words to like kind of sum up the philosophy, but it's almost like rebellion as a form of hope, like in a very hopeless situation and clinging on to that. Like, we're facing ecological collapse, we're facing all of these like terrifying prospects, but the thing is, like, giving into apathy and doing nothing is just, it's nothing. And it's almost like, I suppose, like rebellion and trying to kind of hold these people accountable and actually like anarchism almost as like the idea of like freedom of autonomy for all, but also as a form of like revenge as well, like as in like you're doing it in spite of the powers and people that are causing all of this. There's too many problems in the world right now to quantify, but like, yeah, it's that kind of like spirit of like anarchism as revenge as well, like I don't know if that's something that kind of like resonates with you at all, but I know that that's where he was
Yeah,
coming from with his lyrics for the album.
I can totally also see it like that. Yeah, yeah. I saw that you interviewed him, and I haven't had the chance to check it out yet, but I will surely do. Yeah.
It was a very informative and enlightening conversation. Like it was kind of, I could have sat there for 3 hours and just talked to him because he's fascinating.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So I know the first record is based off a specific period in like Ukrainian history. I just wondered whether you wanted to explain what drew you to that, and also a bit about the context of it.
Yeah, like Nesta Magna,
Yeah.
that kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was a long time ago now, and I don't quite remember how I got that book in my hand, you know. But all of a sudden, I had this book in my hand.
Yeah, you've got the activists.
The
Yeah,
Machnavist movement, like Peter Arshinov, he was there and he wrote his like diaries almost about the struggle and stuff. But I wasn't a I was in a rut, I guess, in my life, you know. Just hadn't read anything in a long time. Was just working my job, smoking weed, and fucking doing nothing, you know. And then all of a sudden, I found this book, and I was blown away that I didn't know about this before.
Yeah.
So so I started to reading up on it, and it just gave me this feeling of hope again. Like it's possible that during the Soviet revolutions and the Russian Civil War and everything, you had like this small group of people that actually held the revolutionary ideals close to their hearts, like
sorry,
through all this shit, you know.
I don't want to break your flow, but you said to mention like with the microphone started crackling, and I think it might be like your.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just was like, I'm sorry for breaking your flow with that.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. No, I think I have these like headphones in, so I think it's my hair. Oh yeah. I will try to be still. No, but it was just like the stars aligned, and I just like I didn't feel inspired in music, and I didn't feel inspired in my life, and then I just came across this period of time that was really inspiring to me.
Fascinating.
So I don't actually know how I got into it and how it all happened. I tend to be in the present when I write and when I make music, and then when it's done, when I recorded everything, it's like next project. So,
Yeah.
but I heard one of you guys were like studying history on the university.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really fascinated by the whole like Soviet history and like that kind of, because I think as socialists you need to kind of like explore it. It's what went well, what didn't, and kind of, you know, like actually in good faith try to analyze that's like the kind of Soviet period is something I'm really interested in. I haven't explored like Nesta Magna and the Magnanists and as much as I want to. One thing I was going to ask though is like, because things like that, and obviously the Kronstadt rebellion that also happened during the Russians, you know, it was an anarchist uprising during the Russian Civil War, both of which were absolutely like brutally crushed. What is it about that that still gives you that kind of hope, you know, in spite of, you know, how that ended, and that, but you know, both of which were brutally crushed by the Soviets?
Yeah, exactly. It always ends in bloodshed. I mean, yeah, exactly. The Paris Commune, same thing. I mean, almost all of these, yes, fucking Spain, all the anarchist societies or the tries that were made were always brutally cut down. Yeah, I don't know what inspires. I mean, I guess it's just like we have to try and try and try again, and hopefully it will work at some point. But like you said, we have to learn from the mistakes.
This commune that you mentioned has been analysed so much by figures of every persuasion, like from Bakunin, Lenin, Marx as well. Like,
Yeah.
wrote an essay about the female fighters on the front line in the Paris Commune.
Yeah.
Found, I mean, like, again, that was brutally suppressed, and I found that still incredibly inspiring. Like that dream of what they attempted, like turning the palaces of the rich into homeless shelters. They turned the Louvre into an artillery factory. And it was in the midst of a very turbulent time, like the Franco-Prussian War and stuff like that. It's that the first ever workers' revolution that was started and led by women initially as well. It was very inspiring, despite the fact that Bloody Week happened and that they were brutally suppressed. And yeah, but it's still inspiring. And I think even Marx in his analysis of it said that even though he initially condemned it and saying that it couldn't work, he said that like it was so valiant they stormed the gates of heaven or something like that.
Yeah,
it's I've got a collection of like essays here about the Paris, like ones from Bakunin, Lenin, Marx, like figures from all across the socialist spectrum and kind of their takes on it. It's brilliant. Sorry, I'm a really big history nerd. So
yeah, but I mean, the Paris Commune was really inspiring in its time, because I mean, even Marx like redefined his thought on like the workers' state, that maybe you didn't need to like take over the state and then work through it. Maybe you could skip like one of the communist step and actually realize the workers' utopia, just like the anarchists said, like we don't need like the state and the authoritarian workers, what's the term in English? Dictatorship of the proletariat, like this. And all these stages that Marx had like mapped out in his works, and maybe it was possible to just like let the councils and like the Soviets rule from the first beginning.
I think the difficulty with that is, though, and I'm not a communist and I'm not an authoritarian. I'm a syndicalist, specifically an anarcho-communist syndicalist. But the difficulty comes in that, though, that in the world that we currently exist in, with all of these like powers that can brutally suppress like sort of like new up and coming worker movements and stuff like that, I suppose it's kind of like, how do you defend? I don't have an answer to this, but how do you defend a revolution against against the powers of capitalism and imperialism will brutally crush you, without kind of like obviously like Lenin's solution was war communism, like that kind of like where the state was geared towards the defense of Russia and forming the Red Army, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big question, and I don't have an answer for it, but it is, and it's kind of trying to reconcile that with my anarchist beliefs of, I don't want a huge authoritarian state, but at the same time, I don't want to see any possible revolution brutally suppressed by, sort of the quote the old powers, like capitalism, monarchy, and all of those forces that will.
Yeah, it's a really big question that we can't answer right here and now, but I mean we have to start working towards it and like learn from the mistakes, like I said before, to not have any organization whatsoever and be totally defenseless in your revolution. It's not an option, because you get squashed like easily. And the other way around, like what happened in the Soviet Russia, was a bust too, because it became too authoritarian. You could defend the revolution, but in a few years, what were you defending? It was not like the revolutionary ideals at all anymore. So I mean, you could, it's hard.
That's exactly why the sailors in Kronstadt rose, because they were not given democracies and freedom that they were promised by Lenin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm more and more starting to like question the idea of the revolution being an event, like we have seen it before in history, like you have this armed uprising revolution, you take over the state, you take over big cities, and you organize like a revolution overnight or during a couple of months or a year, because I don't think people have the time to like get their heads around it. I think I'm leaning more and more towards that it being a slow process, and that's also what I've been trying to meditate over on the new record. That like we're in this long process that's hopefully going. If we work hard enough, it's going in the right direction, you know. And we have to celebrate the little victories and plan for the next ones that are doable, you know. And I don't believe in this avant-garde Leninism stuff, like a small portion of the uh, of
Like the revolutionary vanguard, like the kind of vanguard.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Small portion of the people are taking over and doing what's best for the people, you know. That
That's
never works, and it's never gonna work.
kind of
So
the name.
yeah, I think like syndicalism or something similar is the way forward, and I think just propagating to both workers and soldiers all around the world to just take matters into their own hands is the only thing you can do in the
Absolutely.
present, you know.
Proving, even in spite of, obviously the system is not geared towards it and it becomes more difficult running things like cooperatives and things like that, but like providing these alternative models and being like, look, this was very successful in the past, you know, we can have like worker-owned factories and that work on cooperative models, things like that we can point to and be like, you know, a better alternative is possible, like, you know, in a way that is still, with roughly speaking, within the confines of the law, etc. And, you know, kind of, yeah. So we've really deviated from music here, but like, so I'll talk about like radical politics.
Well, what I was going to say was obviously like examples, like hopeful examples and sort of examples of like syndicalism currently. I know that you've donated proceeds from one of your. Was it a re-release or was it a specific single? But you donated the proceeds to Rojava.
Yeah, everything from Bandcamp goes to there. I 100% of the last album, so maybe at this time I've donated like 3,000 euros or something to different projects down there. And then this release, I'm gonna try to cover the recording expenses. So I'm gonna like donate 50-50 until my expenses are covered, and then start to donate everything from Bandcamp, like digital sales. Sales. But yeah, I think Rojava is a really hopeful example. Also, what you can do if you. But I mean, also there was a civil war,
Yeah,
and all the like the troops from the government like backed down into the country and left like a big portion of the country unguarded, you know, and then they could take over and build their utopia. And now you see, like, as soon as one of the bigger powers interferes, like Turkey is doing now, it's really hard to like defend the revolution. So I mean,
voluntary brigades that were going over, and you know, people who like, you know, came from all over the world to defend that revolution as well.
yeah.
Like it's inspiring. Honestly, I'm not quite familiar with like at present the situation in Rojava, because I know after the Arab Spring that it was this shining beacon to like anarchists around the world.
Yeah.
And then the last I heard was, you know, that Turkey was moving into Syria, etc. And you know, it was a kind of Turkey does not have the best track record in how they have dealt with the Kurdish people in the past,
Oh.
like at all. So like I haven't heard about anything major. Like I know that it hasn't been crushed, but it's been very quiet as well. Like,
Yeah, I think they have like 3 cantons. Like 2 of them are together in the northeast, and then there's this Afrin canton. Is canton a word in English?
I'm not
As
familiar.
like areas, like there are 3 areas, and one is disconnected from the other 2, and then this area is taken over by the Turkish, like since a few years. Um, so it's not looking good. But they are still fighting, and they are still getting U.S. help to get, like, they hold ISIS prisoners and stuff like this, and they try to get the world to do something like take home their ISIS warriors that are in camps in Syria, and basically they are still holding them for us, for the West, for all the countries. I mean, Sweden has people down there that they refuse to take home. So I mean, it's a hard situation. But to be able to fight the Turkish military, that would need a miracle or very, very strong economical like power.
I think it would very much go the same way that it did in Spain, in the sense of they have the people, but the fascists have the tanks.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping that I can write a really good metal album that will get me a lot of proceeds, so I can buy some like anti-aircraft guns for Rojava. But yeah, that's my vision, at least. Yeah, because like in the 70s, the Swedish communist group actually like collected money for an anti-aircraft gun for the Viet Cong, like the Vietnamese.
Oh wow!
So I think it's time to do something like this again, and maybe dream a little bigger than just sending money through the Red Cross and stuff like this. So yeah, keep your eyes on the horizon and just I mean, dream big. Fucking aim for the stars, and maybe you can reach the treetops at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's kind of the thing. Like, even if you only accomplish a handful of your goals, like you've at least still, in theory, made the world a somewhat better place.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I noticed that the physical vinyls have already sold out. Is that how big a pressing was that of those? At least
just a couple of 100, and we're saving like half of the pressings for the tour because we only put out half on the pre-orders.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to tour the UK at any point? Because I would love to see you live. I know a lot of our viewers are from the UK as well. We have a few international viewers, but primarily UK based.
No hard plans yet, no. But I mean, nothing is impossible. But I've heard it's kind of a hassle to tour the UK now after Brexit and stuff.
Yeah, yes. Brexit is everything here is going up in price, and everything. Well, fuel bills here are ridiculous, and they're now saying it's because of obviously the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which plays a part, but also sabotaging all of your trade deals and having a largely privatized sector.
We are the first country in human history to voluntarily impose trade sanctions on ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I work in a shop, and the price of like a 2 pint of milk has gone up by £1 in a year. So it's like.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same here, and we're still in the EU. I mean, the prices are going straight up. Like electricity is fucking expensive, and all the groceries are fucking expensive. So I don't know how much that has to do with Brexit actually. But and I'm not a big fan of EU myself, so
no.
In a way I support the Brexit, maybe not why it was done and by who it was done.
I always said, if with the Conservatives in place, Brexit was always going to be a way to strip away workers' rights. Whereas if Jeremy Corbyn had got in, we still cry daily about this. How I think he could have done Brexit in a way where there would have been more opportunity in theory, and you wouldn't have had to have like dealt with the rules of the EU. Because I know we can't privatize our railways fully because of
nationalize.
Did I say that?
You said privatize.
I said nationalize. They're already privatized. We can't nationalize our railways because of something to do with the EU. I know there's a big.
Well, the French government owns a large portion of our railways.
There's been a lot of industrial action in strikes in like the railways and stuff. I know Mick Lynch and Eddie Dempsey, isn't it? They were pro Brexit when they started a couple of years ago, and that was where I'd read about that or heard them speaking about it. Yeah. I don't know where this was going.
I mean, like, I think that, I think that's kind of the thing. Like, the EU's treatment of migrants and other things is a lot to criticize the European Union for, but like, Brexit, in the way that it was handled, it was just a huge cash grab for the wealthy. Like,
Yeah.
and they were trying to, it's no coincidence that the EU were clamping down on tax loopholes as well.
Yeah.
When a lot of individuals like Jacob Rees-Mogg wanted to.
We just had an MP lose a position because they didn't pay was it 4 billion? I think I don't quote me on this.
I'm
I
not
think
familiar.
it may have been 4
Yeah, but
billion.
yeah, but I mean, in theory, leaving EU should make you better equipped to like fight for workers' rights, because I mean, like the EU is basically like a free trade organization. And if you step out of that, you should be able to control your national policies more.
But
I
when
think
it's
that
But
was-
the
yeah.
question is if anyone wants that in
Yeah.
within the country. You know?
Well, that's why I said it was if the Conservatives weren't in power, I probably may have voted to leave. But
Mm.
we've had a Conservative government now for 13 years that just decimated.
And
the
they are
country.
like one of the. They are rapidly. I
They
would,
get more right wing. When one of them goes, the next one's more right wing. It's
Like,
just
Yeah,
at this point that at this point, like they are. It's not even conservative. It's just pure like nationalism, and
Yeah.
it's grim.
Yeah.
so
Anyway.
yeah,
yeah.
a Trespasser Dawn Raid tour, co-headline tour.
Oh, that would be.
be pretty sick. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
see
just throwing that out there.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, it would be cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check out Simon's talk. It would be really nice to see. But it's been so much with the record and like the release and the tour now, so I haven't had much time to do anything except for, you know, organizing stuff like this.
Yeah. One question I wanted to ask, obviously, I did like media, I do photography and all that, so I'm very into the visuals. I really, really like the iconography of like the photo for this album. You know, the one where you both stood there. What was like the sort of the meaning and everything behind the outfits and stuff? And I tried to find the guy who you'd credited, and I can't find him anywhere. I think I may have found his Spotify playlists, but
All right, yeah, I can give you his Instagram. I think he's most active there, but he's supposed to have like a Facebook page also, and I don't know why I can't tag him, because the tags just like disappears. I find him in the like at list. I click him, blue blue letters, and his name is blue, but then vanishes. I'll send you his stuff. I mean, he does mostly like street photography and stuff on his accounts. But he's a good friend of mine. Also plays in punk bands. We shared a rehearsal room in Stockholm for years. And I mean, these dresses I sewed like when I had the theme figured out for the record. I wanted a victory dress, you know.
Yeah.
Because the last record was about the history, about the past, and it was about war. It was about the civil war in Russia, and this time I wanted to write about the future and about peace and stuff like this. So I wanted also clothes and like an aesthetic that matched that. So the idea is that it's victory dresses after the final victory.
That's very cool.
That really ties into the theme of what you're going
Yeah.
hope and like the.
Did you? I know that I read that it was about you sort of based the album as well on like revelations in the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's crazy to me. Because obviously I was raised quite Christian. I sort of got past all that now. I went to Catholic school, and that does it to most people I know that went to the same school as me. They came out at least agnostic, but because I always found having like the Book of Revelations read to me as a kid, it's like that is some like horror film level stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fucking trip.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like just being like they're like 6 years old, like bedtime story revelations. So now a demon, a beast walks out of the sea covered in profanities, and you're like,
Yeah.
Oh,
Metal.
now I'm into metal and horror.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So how did that weave into your writing, and what sort of things do you take aspects from as you were writing the album?
I mean, the Book of Revelation is it has yeah, you read it, of course. So it's really trippy.
Yeah,
It's almost like a dream, hallucinatory dream, and all these different fragments that are built into a story, and you can't quite follow the timeline and the structure of it all. You're like ripped from Earth up to heaven, and then you're like back on Earth, and then you're back and forth in the timeline and the chronology. But it has this really power and this forward movement, like a push in the writing. And aside from that, the poetry, I mean, I read the King James version and the Swedish version simultaneously. But aside from the poetry, it has like this forward movement and this what do you call it? Stamina. You know, like it has a life power and a hopeful message, even though like the uh, ideology behind it is like really creepy.
yeah,
Like with
very
with this, like you have to believe in Jesus and everything to be saved, or otherwise hellfire will rain down on you and you will be sucked into the belly of the beast. You know, like it's ideologically it's really fucking creepy, of course. But the story and the poetry of it and the power of the language is fascinating. And I mean, it's beautiful.
yeah. I do want to know whether someone made that up or whether it was someone.
It was a monk on an island.
Was a monk on an island?
Yeah, he was put in jail on an island like outside of Turkey, like John.
The history of how it was written and stuff like that. It's actually very interesting.
I'm gonna have to,
Yeah,
I
I
just
mean, everything is kind of dark. I mean, no one knows for sure, but probably he was either high or drunk or really really exhausted or like in a trance-like state or something. Because I mean, this is to write something like this in the time period he was alive and like just in the time period he was in jail on that island. I mean, it's superhuman. Just just the effort of writing this. So I mean, it might be a god somewhere.
Yeah, it's very chaotic and stream of consciousness and
yeah.
Yeah.
I just again, I'm not surprised by how I've turned up interest wise and like darker stuff. Having had that read to me as a small child, it's like I think it's cool. Not
Yeah.
messaging behind it. I obviously have totally rebelled against, but it's like the iconography
I think
is
whether
pretty
we
cool.
I think whether we like it or not, though, the Christian like mythology and symbolism permeates all aspects of art and culture, and you kind of need to understand it to kind of almost understand our culture.
Yeah, exactly. And when I started reading it from like, I mean, it's not a long chapter, but when you start to read it, and then you get all these, uh, what do you call it in English? Like every band you like has lines from this book, you know,
Like quotes.
like Iron Maiden to Johnny Cash to Funeral Mist to like you
Well,
name it.
as you were saying about Revelations, I even heard in my head, like, you know, it was one that Johnny Cash recorded before he died, like when the man comes around, is it? Like where
Exactly, yeah.
that's him reading, and then I saw the name of the beast and blah blah and all that.
I heard it had a word. So, yeah, exactly.
And upon his head was placed 7 kingly crowns or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we asked you to pick half an hour's worth of music. So
Yeah.
we just wanted to go through your picks and talk about how they've inspired you. And I think Rob's now going after the Daegu.
He likes
So-
to appear. I heard him crawling up the wall. But
Oh yeah, cool. There he is. Hi.
He's crashed another podcast.
Yeah, I just heard him. He was like climbing up the tapestry and into the shot. And you're going back in your cage, mister. I'll be 1 second. I'm very sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Who was that? Was it Ted?
That
No,
was Ted,
that was-
yeah. So usually we'd assume, 'cause obviously in real life, Ted is more
the quiet.
the quiet one, and Fenris is obviously Fenris, whereas it's the opposite with the Dagoos for some reason. Well, because they're
Well, it
not,
used to
they're
be
not
like
there.
Fenris is the more aggressive of the two, but Ted used to be very shy when we got him, and then he's just sort of gained in a lot of confidence and wants to be the star of the show now.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So your half an hour's worth of music for the show, for the radio show that will go out on Thursday when we air this. Do you want to just talk through your picks and how they've inspired you, or just your thoughts about them?
Yeah, I wrote a little bit about every song there, but yeah, which one did I pick?
So the first one was Letter to Madeline by Ian No.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah. I love storytelling, like when a song is like just a long a short novella. What's the English word again? Just
Yeah.
a short story, just
Yeah.
like with it a really like a narrative, just like oh, maybe in first person or whatever. And that song is like a classic outlaw story about someone who's hiding with a bunch of money and he's hoping to see his wife again, because I mean it's understood that they maybe robbed the bank together and they're supposed to meet up later, but then he's like gunned down. Classic story and fucking amazing production, and yeah, I mean it's a country song, so it can go very many ways with that genre, but this is good modern country, and I always return to these type of songs when I want to tell a story with a song, just to get inspired that how you can write verses that like corresponds like answers and like works well with the chorus and then comes back to this one, like it's yeah. You have to go outside the metal, of course, to get inspired.
Yes,
Absolutely,
that's well. I always get annoyed when people criticize people who aren't into metal wearing metal shirts, and it's like I think most musicians listen to a variety of music, and just because you may not like that person's music doesn't mean they don't like that. It's like, yeah, I don't know why I said that as a gripe I've just had by things, but
Yeah,
yeah,
this is sorry, what did you say?
people that have a genuine appreciation for music, I think, do tend to go out of their way to find things that are interesting. So I think it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Want to let him out there. He is the Daegu has decided to rage again.
It's literally open. He's just being done.
I'll push it open then. So the second song, which was pretty cool, Nile, Multitude of Foes.
Oh yeah, first Nile song I ever heard. I mean, my friend, we were in 7th grade, so my friend recorded it on like a Swedish rock radio show that was on for an hour in the middle of the night, and I wasn't allowed to be up that late, but he actually like got permission from his parents to record that every week when it was on. So he came to me outside of the lockers in I don't know, in junior high, and he was like, fuck you, fuck, you have to hear this, and then he put like the Walkman earpieces in my ear, and he was like, have you ever heard something like this? And I mean, I already listened to like D-beat and grindcore and Swedish stuff like this, and maybe even heard some of the more extreme metal like Immortal and Dissectionist. But I mean, this blew me out of the fucking parking lot. I mean, I never heard anyone play music like this. So of course, when I bought that record, no, actually, I never bought that record. I just burned it on a CD from him, and he bought it because I was cheap or poor. I don't know why, but I still have like the CDR uh, copied cover of it. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to come over experience like this. And it's still my favorite metal album, Black Seeds of Vengeance by Nile. It's a perfect album. Like it's also like this narrative. It's like really changing, and it develops throughout, and it has this valleys and tops, and yeah, it's an amazing album. Oh.
That's really cool.
And then there was Hi It's Me by Ash Nico.
Ash Nico, yeah. That's like just the modern pop song that I heard on the radio, and I was like, "Fuck, this production is good," and this arrangement. I mean, both the rhythm part, the fuck, my English is so bad. You know,
No,
like this
Yeah.
These is like strikes, these drum hits in the beginning, like they are a little bit off, but then the beat comes in, and you're like, okay, that's the rhythm of because the song lines are over these like marks on the drums, and then you don't figure out where the one is until half of the verse, and then you're like, yeah, fuck, this is fucking amazing. And then like a chorus that's not like it builds up, but it takes everything just takes down on the chorus, and it's just like this hi-hat in the like backbeat hi-hat. Yeah, you should listen to it. It's really good.
Yeah, we'll check it out. We don't.
Yeah, we'll be
yeah.
playing all of this on the radio, so we'll hear it go out.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah.
And then there was Black Wall Street, and I can't read my own handwriting.
Killshade?
Oh, Killuminati.
Killuminati, yeah. Yeah, also like a modern contemporary female rapper. I only listened to this and a few more songs, but this is like her best song, and I just like the flow so much.
Yeah.
She's a really good rapper.
That's cool. I'll check that out. And then there was Cosmic Power of the Infinite Shred Machine by Dragon Force.
Yeah. Fucking Dragon Force. I mean, I know I'm supposed to be ashamed of liking Dragon Force, but I had this. I started to cycle a lot. You know, like bicycle. Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, cycling. Yeah, just and it's the perfect music for riding a bike. You should try it. Put on some Dragon Force in your ears, and then just ride a bike. So that, of course, got me inspired to write like fast bass drum driven songs. Who doesn't want to write the fast bass drum driven song if you're listening to Dragon Force?
I'm a closest to Dragon Force fan. Like they were the first ever gig I went to was Dragon Force.
Yeah.
With Sabaton opening up for them, but it was the first.
Yeah.
Sabaton had ever been in the UK.
Yeah.
So like I got to see, I think it was the first date. So with anyone like in the kind of UK, I was among the first to ever see Sabaton live, which is pretty
okay.
Considering how like ridiculously big they are now, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. They blew up.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, but yeah, like I think it was like the Art of War tour or something like 2008, 2009, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Back over a decade. I'm too old.
Yeah.
And then there was Ecclesia Diabolica Catholica by Behemoth.
Yeah, Behemoth. I mean, I haven't followed them that much. When Demigod came out, it was many years ago. I really fell in love with that one. It was the first one I heard, and maybe the only one I still listen to, like from back to back. But I think every record from then has had a few good songs, like really hard hitting songs, because they know how to write an intro.
Yeah, like as you were talking about Demigod, I just heard the intro riff to Conquer All by Behemoth. Like, yeah, like,
exactly, yeah. That one is filled with those like really monumental intros.
Yeah,
but this, I mean, I chose this one because I think it's just a pop song with really heavy production. You know, it got this very concise verses and then the bridges and then these choral refrains. Yeah, and of course, very inspiring as well.
I think in terms of like song structure as well, I think like a lot of bands kind of use that kind of like classic, because we were actually talking to Hellripper about this, like how he's taken so much inspiration from like Paul McCartney and the Beatles in terms of actually how to kind of like, like kind of verse, chorus, like, bridge, verse, chorus, like, that, if it broke, don't fix it kind of thing. Even though I really like progressive weird shit, it's still like
yeah, me too. I mean, I love a progressive strange song as much as the next guy, but I mean, it has to be the spice and not like the oatmeal or what? How do you say in English? I don't know, but you get what? Yeah.
Potatoes, don't you?
Yeah.
Irony is
vegan. But my guilty pleasure at the moment is that Oliver Tree song "Miss You" that's on everywhere. I don't know why. I think it's constant hooks, and I'm like, I don't know why I like this, but my reptilian brain. Oh, you'd know it if you heard it. It's on loads of memes and stuff.
I probably would. I just don't know it by name.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my guilty pleasure at the moment.
Which was that? Sorry, I didn't catch which band you were talking about.
It's called "Miss You" by Oliver Tree. It's on like a load of. It's on memes and stuff, and
Okay, yeah, I missed that too.
Not ringing a bell, but I'll check it out when we get off. When the podcast ends, we'll put it on and I'll see her.
I don't think you'll like it, but
okay.
Yeah, and then your last song was Blank and Goodland's Hellraiser.
Sorry, I missed that. It was something with the ear. What did you say?
The last song was Hellraiser.
Oh yeah. I got really into dance music and started to go into my first raves as a like 30-year-old just a couple of years ago, and I started to listen more and more to electronic music and stuff like that, and I mean the drop in that song just fucking rips. Nothing more, nothing less.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what the reaction's gonna be.
Usually when we're like, oh, you can pick anything, people stick to metal, and like I'm kind of excited to have a playlist that is like proper eclectic.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what the kind of reactions from our listeners is gonna be.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's cool. It's like this is what we kind of want. We want to have like a list that is really eclectic, because like most people don't just solely listen to metal, and it's like kind of cool to get like a broad spectrum of like what you actually listen to.
Yeah, it'd be nice because it's kind of like cool, like almost showing like the components of what goes into Trespasser. If you get what I mean, like that's kind of like where we're at with like,
this I mean this is direct inspirations for this record, so I guess that's what you asked for. So this is what I've been listening to during the process of the record. So I mean, of course, I've listened to metal and stuff. I mean, I love the new Miss Tyrming and the last Miss Tyrming, and I've listened to shitloads of Funeral Mist and Marduk and stuff like this. But yeah, I think I more and more draw inspiration from just regular fucking pop music and other genres, especially when writing lyrics and writing, like rhythm and like phrasing and stuff like this.
Yeah,
you can't find inspiration in metal. You have to open a book or listen to rappers is the fucking best, because they are many have really good ideas about how to pronounce words and in which order they are supposed to be. And when in the beat they are supposed to be.
I know ages ago watching a video years ago about Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly, and they're going, right, this verse references this book, this is a reference to this book. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You don't think about how like well crap, because some of them are just, especially like some stuff that's like just on the radio, you can kind of dismiss it as like like just a pop song, but it's like there's a lot of like stuff that goes into this, especially with some of like Kendrick Lamar stuff where it's like about like colonialism and stuff like that, and like Black America.
Yeah,
it's very, very intellectual when you break it down.
Exactly. My hip hop choice on this list is not intellectual in that way,
Yeah,
but it's still fucking grooves. So yeah.
that's cool. That's cool.
Oh.
So yeah,
Do you want to round it up? Yeah.
So-
So is there anything you would like to? Obviously, we have the new Trespasser album to talk about, and you mentioned a tour releases. Just kind of like at the end, we kind of like to kind of give you the space to kind of just like mention any projects, anything in the works that you want to draw people's attention to.
Oh yeah. No, I just check out the tour dates. I guess it would be fun to have some audience. We're gonna play a lot of new songs, so I'm really looking forward to that. We start at the 17th of February, I think, is the first date, and then 2 weeks. No UK dates, unfortunately, but
Hopefully,
Or-
fingers crossed.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got some stuff in the pipeline, but I can't really disclose any details right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely, but if you do manage to like come and tour the UK, we will promote the shit out of it.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, nice.
But thank you so much for joining us.
We will.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was nice talk.
Yeah. We will stop recording.